Hey friends, it's Mari. I'm really excited to be starting a new series here on YouTube today. This is the very first episode of Just Paper, Scissors, Glue, and Tools, where we create projects with paper crafting that are really basic, just using really basic things that we have in our space. And today I'm going to be creating this project here that you can see on the screen. I'm going to be using a couple of photos, and I'm going to start off here by showing you those photographs. I've printed them at 3.7 by 3.7 in both black and white and color. I'm going to get you to help me choose whether I should use the black and white or color photo here in my process today. I do have an Epson PictureMate photo printer in my space so that I do have the opportunity to print multiple photos if I want. I'm going to trim down that white space using my little Tim Holtz guillotine trimmer. I'm going to show you here how I use the edge of the photo, the color or black and white edge, and I just line that up with the guide on the cutter, and I use that to make sure that the space on the edge of the photo, the white space or the border, is uniform around the edge of the photo if I actually want a white border. And for these photos I did want to use a little white border on each one of the photographs. So I've got my photos all trimmed down, and I'm just going to set those aside while I work on creating the layout. So I am using a page map sketch here today. This is from January 2020. I am going to link up this sketch down below. This is a really great way to get inspiration for really awesome layouts, and it's a super great way to come up with a layout that's going to be quick to create. So I wanted to use the color inspiration in the color version of this photo of my son. I love that his little hoodie is that combination of kind of a cobalt blue and a teal. And so I went through my stash and I chose a collection that was going to have the colors that I wanted to work with today. And I'm going to be using Vicki Boutin's Color Kaleidoscope. I love this collection. It's really fun. I think it's great for either masculine or feminine layouts, but I really love how it works with the photos that I wanted to use today. So I'm going to be using that collection as an inspiration for what I want to do as well with this layout. Now I also have the 8x6 paper pad for this collection, which is fantastic for what I wanted to do with this layout today. I love that this paper pad is double-sided. You don't just get one single page that you can use with each page. You have two, and I think that's brilliant. I love how Vicki's small paper pads are made that way. Now, I'm just going to look through and see if there's any little cut aparts I might want to consider using as well. I love the little phrase on this one. I thought it was really cute. I don't end up using it, but I wanted to just pull it out in case there was a spot for it on my layout. So I'm just going to go through, I'm going to pull out the papers that I want to use with my punches today. One thing that you can use, one tool that's really great to use to create cool little embellishments with a layout is your punches. And I feel like punches kind of often get ignored in our crafting process. And what's really great about punches is you can do some really cool things with them that are super quick. And you'll see what I do here on this layout today using a couple of my square punches. And of course, the inspiration for that really came from that page maps sketch, which is awesome. So I'm just continuing to go through here and pick out some of the papers that I want to use or think about using, considering anyways. And then I'm just going to set that paper pad aside and get to work on creating the rest of the layout. You can see I've used up quite a bit of this paper pad already, but still a decent amount of it left, and I wanted to just pull out some of the things that I might use. So just going to set that aside now and get going on the rest of the layout here. So now I'm just going to show you again on the sketch these little squares that are part of the background, and that's just a really cool detail that I'm going to create, like I said, with my punches. Now I have two punches I'm going to be using. One is a scallop square punch and the other is just a plain square. The scallop square is the same size as the square, and that is 1 3/8 of an inch. These are Stampin' Up! Punches. You probably have punches similar to this. Even if you wanted to adapt this and use circles instead of squares, you could totally do that. Do whatever it is that you have. You could even cut your own squares just with your paper cutter. You wouldn't need a punch. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up my 12 by 12 Basil Avalanche textured cardstock here with, I'm just going to line it up on my grid board that I'm working on here, my black grid board. I could use that grid board to line up what I'm trying to do here, but today I'm just also going to use my ruler. So if you don't have a grid mat to work on, you can do this really simple technique to get things straight, to adhere down what I'm going to adhere to my layout, and that's just a horizontal sticker. So I'm just marking off at the 2-inch mark here with my Tim Holtz ruler. I'm going to then just create a straight line, and I can also use my grid lines to help me do that as well on my grid mat, and I'm going to just sort of use both and draw that straight line across so that I have a mark across the top of my paper horizontally where I want to put this horizontal sticker. Now, what I really love about Vicky's collections as well is with her cardstock sticker sheets, she's often got these border strips, and I love border strips. Simple Stories is another company that does this. I guess there's lots, right? I think probably Echo Park does, lots of the companies. It's nice to have these sticky border strips because it's a super easy way to create an eye line or a straight line on your layout. So if you're going for something a little more linear, this is a really great way to get the line started on your layout. Now, this is going to provide me with a starting point for getting everything else straight on this linear layout. I'm trying out a couple of other papers to back this layout with because I am going to mat it onto a colored paper. And I was just looking at what will match up with that sticky border horizontal strip that I just put down. Now I'm also grabbing out those 8x6 papers that I had taken out before, and I'm going to cut my squares using these pattern papers. So I'm just choosing ones that I think complement what I want to do here with my color scheme. And I'm going to use the portion of this rainbow paper that has the teals and yellows and greens on it. I didn't really want to mix in any pinks or those sorts of tones in the layout. So I just finished cutting some of those circles out of that. These are the squares, the scallop squares. And now I'm just going into another paper and doing the same. So I just do that with both the straight edge square and the scallop square, and cut a whole bunch of patterns here that I can use to create that kind of almost like a quilt look, but not exactly because it's not symmetrical. And I'm going to just stick these down now with some repositionable adhesive. I really love this Kokio tape runner. It's my favorite. I will link this up in the description box down below if you're interested. I buy mine on Amazon. I love them. They last for a super long time, and I love that they're repositionable because if you do have a mess up and you want to pick it up, you can do that, and this sticky stays sticky really well on this with this Kokio tape runner. Now I also want to mat my photographs onto some more of this Basil Avalanche texture cardstock. I like white on white. I really like white space on my layouts. I think it looks really clean, and that is what I'm going to use to mat my photo. You could do whatever you wanted. If you wanted it to be colorful, you could do that too. I showed you my big mama roll of 3M foam tape. I also buy these on Amazon. They last forever. This roll of tape will last me probably for a year and a half, and I use it in my card making processes and scrapbooking all the time. I really love it for this particular technique, and that is just to lift my photos up when I'm matting them. So I just want a really clean mat on these photos and pop them up so that they have a little bit of dimension. And now I'm just going to take my Kokio adhesive and I'm going to adhere these down. And you can see that I'm using that horizontal sticky strip from that Vicky Boone cardstock sticker sheet to keep everything straight. So because that is straight, everything else should line up nicely. I am going to bring in my T-square ruler just to make sure. You do not want a layout that is really linear like this to be crooked in any way because it is going to look weird. And so I'm just bringing in my T-square ruler just to make sure. I will link this T-square ruler down below as well. It is a tool that I use in my process all the time, and it is super inexpensive and I love it. So I am going to just, you can see how I'm varying where I'm putting the different colored pattern papers, just to create kind of like a little bit of a pattern in that way. And just, you know, having the different colors against each other so that it looks really even. And now I'm just going to finish getting those all stuck down, and I'm going to use this journaling card from the Vicki Boutin ephemera pack from Color Kaleidoscope, and I'm going to just stick that down where the where the page map sketch suggested. Now I want to add some detail to these little square areas. So what I'm doing is I'm going in with some of the stickers from the Kaleidoscope collection, and I'm just going to add some foam adhesive onto the back of the stickers, and I'm going to pop them up onto those squares just to give those squares a little bit of detail. You could add detail to these squares in a lot of different ways. You could sew on them, you could sew an X through them with your sewing machine. You don't have to add anything on them at all. It looks fine the way that it is. I just thought, I thought it would look kind of neat, and I wanted to use up some of these stickers because there's a lot of them in this sticker pack that goes along with the collection. So I'm going to use ones that I feel like coordinate with the color scheme in the layout. I'm also going to use a few that are iridescent, or at least one that's iridescent. And then I end up adding a few other iridescent details as well in the layout because I added that one little iridescent sticker. You'll see me do that here as I go through. So just trying to figure out sort of like a pattern for these different shapes. Some are stars, some are circles, and some are kind of like a little flower shape. And I even end up taking some smaller circle punches and cutting out some of the larger circle stickers that are on that sticker sheet, just because some of them are a little bit too big. Now I'm taking this die cut circle piece that's got a black outline on it, and I just stuck that down with some foam adhesive where my journaling card is. And now I'm taking some of the iridescent, these are chipboard stickers from the chipboard sheet, and also some iridescent letters. And I'm going to add a little title up at the top, So Fun. That was not part of the sketch, but I just wanted to add that in. And I also added a little label to the journaling area that says The Story. Now I'm going to add this polka dot paper to the back of my layout as a frame. I'm just going to take my trimmer and gut the center out of my paper. I don't want to waste the center of that. No one's ever going to see the center of this paper. And so I'm going to take the center of that out so that I can use that on another project. And then what I'll do is just put my the rest of my layout down on top of that. I did size my layout down by 1/8 of an inch. No, sorry, 1/4 of an inch on two sides. So I took 1/4 of an inch off the bottom and 1/4 of an inch off the left side of the layout. And in that way, I'm able to have a little bit of that pattern paper showing around the edge of my layout as a mat. So that's how my layout has turned out. I really like it. You can see my journaling has been added there, which I did on my computer. You can also see here what the colored photos look like versus the black and white. And please leave me a comment in the description box below and let me know what you think. What do you think? Should I go with the color? I can, because I matched up the colors in the photograph with the collection that I used. Or should I use the black and white? You will see some still shots here at the end that have the black and white photos, and the finished product right now has the black and white photos on it, but I can easily switch those out by simply taking the photos up and using these ones instead, or simply adhering these ones over top. That would also work because they're exactly the same size. Thank you so much for stopping by today. Let me know what you think about the photos, and I hope to see you back here soon for another episode of Just Paper, Scissors, Glue, and Tools. Have an amazing day, friends. Bye-bye.